And just like that, the Jets season has come down just to watching draft position. Development, not a whole lot of that today, at least not at quarterback. I'm Glenn Naughton with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what's the most active Jets message board on the web. A little different setting in Belgium with the family. Kicked back to the room to watch the beatdown where we hoped Brady Cook, my sort of ideal scenario, play well, everyone play well and lose the football game, improve your draft position. All they did was improve their draft position. Not a lot of playing well. Yes, Jamie and Sherwood made a little bit of noise early on. Will McDonald was an absolute force in the fourth quarter. Ross Tucker couldn't stop gushing about him. We saw a sack, a QB hit, a couple of pressures. So Will McDonald, and I kind of said I thought we would see a big second half out of him. Very quiet in the first half, but you kind of saw little glimpses. You saw the spin move working, you saw the explosiveness, and I thought I like his chances against this Saints O-line, but it didn't matter, did it? And I don't know, pardon me, no mic, no headphones, nothing. This is just a wide open laptop that's doing all the work for us here. So I apologize if the audio is not very good. So again, 29-6, close game at the half. Jets trailed 9-6, and then New Orleans went on a 20-0 run. Look, Tyler Shough threw for 300 yards, first time he's done that in his career. But at the same time, New Orleans, with so many banged-up running backs, they had Shough throw it 50 times, 49 times. So it's, I'm not saying the Jets defense played good, but 6 yards per completion isn't exactly, setting the world on fire. I shouldn't even say that because Shough did do some impressive things for a rookie. He's playing well right now. The Jets wish they had a quarterback of his stature at this point, and they hope to get one in the draft, a guy who can string together a few wins. Again, like I said, a 300-yard game, but a ton of throws. New Orleans didn't really run it at all with the running backs. Taysom Hill had 12 carries, but he's sort of a running back, quarterback, punter, everything. Audric Estime led all of their backs with 5 carries for 19 yards. So really, they didn't even try to get anything going on the ground, even though the Jets, as of late, have been getting gashed on the ground by opposing running backs. Brady Cook, big step back for him. People like me who are fans of the guy, rooting for the guy. We saw 8 sacks. Many of them were on him where he just held onto the ball too long. Look, I criticized Justin Fields for it early in the year. I'll criticize Brady Cook for it right now. He's an older rookie, but he is a rookie, right? He's not a year 5 guy who's still making the same mistakes he's been making his whole career. He's a rookie in his second pro start, which is crazy to me. The number of Jets fans that are like, this guy, he sucks. He can't do anything. Are we going to do the same thing if they draft Fernando Mendoza? They draft Mendoza. He has 2 bad games. We can say, oh, get rid of this guy. We know we can't play now. It's absurd, but that's what fans are sometimes. It's kind of just comes with the territory. Cook on the day, 22 of 35 for 188. And honestly, it wasn't even that good. A lot of his big plays came, I should say his bigger plays, didn't really have any big plays. Were on sort of swings and screens, the easy stuff. Didn't really throw the ball downfield very much. I'd wondered, and the broadcast said it, could this be a product of him having thrown so many picks? Are they trying to sort of reel him in a little bit and have him stop throwing the ball down the field? He did have an interception today, late in the game, fourth quarter, had what should have been a pick 6. The ball went right through the DB's hands. So it was almost another multi-interception game for Brady Cook. Breece Hall, 16 carries for 54, 3.4 a carry. He needs 46 yards over the final 2 weeks to hit 1,000 for the first time in his career. And he, of course, you probably already know this, and you probably saw it on the broadcast. That would make him the first Jets running back to go for 1,000 yards since Chris Ivory did it 5 million years ago. Receiving, not a whole lot of production from the receiving core. Isaiah Davis led all receivers with 52 yards. He had 4 catches. A.D. Mitchell had 3 for 43. Stone Smart, 5 catches, and I think 4 of them came on the final drive. But 5 for 34, 6.8 a carry. Isaiah Williams, 4 for 25. I believe his biggest reception was on a screen. Jeremy Ruckert with the fresh new contract, 2 for 14. Breece, 2 for 9. Tyler Johnson reemerges. I know I've seen people say they forgot he was on the roster. 1 for 7, and John Mechie 1 for 4. Brady Cook had a fumble that he did lose. Kind of expect that when you get sacked 8 times. Defensively, I mentioned Jamie Sherwood. He had himself a pretty impressive game. 11 total tackles. He had a sack, 2 tackles for loss. One of them came on a 4th and 1 where he leapt over the pile and grabbed Shuck for the stop, a la Troy Polamalu. He also got a quarterback hit. Quincy Williams, 11 tackles himself. Malachi Moore, 8 tackles and a forced fumble on New Orleans' first drive to force a turnover when Quantez Stiggers picked it up. Michael Walker saw what was probably his most extensive action of the year. He picked up 8 tackles. Jordan Clark and Dean Clark, no relation, both undrafted, both defensive backs. Dean Clark, number 35, Jordan Clark, number 33. Some hiccups in coverage, but we did see each of them make some big hits, big tackles on sort of 3rd and 10 for Jordan Clark to force a field goal. And then Dean Clark later on 3rd or 4th down, he stopped the runner inches short of the first down, and Jordan Clark was right behind him in support. We saw a couple PBUs from Quantez Stiggers as he has seen increased playing time with the injury to A.Z. Thomas. Harrison Phillips, 5 tackles along with Brandon Stevens. Will McDonald mentioned him earlier. 4 tackles, a sack, 2 quarterback hits. I'm sure all of that came in the second half. Kalen Saunders, 3 tackles. Braden McGregor had 2. Jermaine Johnson, 2. Juwan Briggs, Arian Smith on specials. Jarius Monroe, Kobe King, and Armand Membu, each with a tackle. Jay Tufeli as well. And actually, I think Arian Smith may have been on the fumble recovery. He did have a big specials, though. Isaiah Williams, 1 kick return for 42 yards. Guy just does a good job. Kenny Nwangu, 1 for 34. Nick Folk, perfect again on field goals, 2 for 2. And Austin McNamara, 46 per punt on 5 punts, 3 of them inside the 20-yard line. So, ugly game all around. The offensive line was good, not great against the pass. As I said, some of the sacks, I would say at least half of them, of the 8 sacks, if not more, Brady Cook could have done. Now, listen, there were 2 of them where the pressure broke down and he tried to tuck it and run, and just on one, he got his foot swiped, and another one, he just ran right into the D lineman. You know, these are sacks. So it's Cook trying to get out of a bad spot and failing to do so. Then there were a couple where he held on to it for too long. So those are on him. But we did see Josh Myers get his lunch eaten by Nathan Shepard. We saw a couple of guys come in unblocked on blitzes. So they weren't all on Cook, but he could have been better. Saw a couple where if he would have known his hot route and dumped it off, he could have done a little more. Ross Tucker pointed out on one of the late sacks, Cook rolled out. He was, well out of the pocket. He was approaching the sideline. And I'm watching thinking, all right, well, you're going to throw it away now because that's what you do here. Didn't throw it away, took the hit, knocked out of bounds for a sack. So not Brady Cook's best game. But again, it's his second pro start. I'm not one to give up on guys after 2 games. We saw fans give up on Isaiah Williams after 1 game and how that worked out. So, it's I think you need more than a game or 2 to decide with these guys. Listen, some fans have a crystal ball, they know it all. They just need to see like 3 snaps and they can tell you exactly what the guy's career is going to be. I'm not one of those guys. I need more than a couple of games. Real quick in the chat, Rob says, evening, Glenn, safe travels and happy holidays. Thank you, Rob. In Bruges, Belgium, which we pop out over here every year around Christmas time, hit up the Christmas market and enjoy the sights. Let's see. Team seemed lost today. They certainly did in a lot of ways. Missed assignments, which, you know what, Rob, you kind of new defensive coordinator. It's one of those things where it's like, like I said, you're not going to install a whole new system. But is the play calling, the tempo, getting the calls in, how different is that going to be? And is there going to be any confusion? And I think we saw some of that. Seems like play calling is conservative. As I said at the top, I think they were trying to prevent Brady Cook from turning it over. But I say let it rip, man. Let him go out there and throw. You're going to lose games anyway. Just let's see what the guy can do. Although, Rob says here, need more RPO. I didn't see a lot of design runs for Brady Cook. I may have seen one. I'm trying to think. And that may have been one where he just took off, not long after the snap. So it could have been designed, but I'm not 100% sure. I know we didn't see enough of it. Like that, the way that guy can run, you go back and watch him at Mizzou when this offense is struggling, have him run it 7, 8 times and see what he can do. Brian says the tank is alive and well. Well, it certainly is, Brian. And as we said, players don't tank, but I get what you're saying. The record is poor enough that we can call it a tank. And My Info asks, what pick do we get? Well, that's the interesting thing here, My Info. According to Tankathon, the Jets right now sit at 4, but there are some teams ahead of them. I mean, the Giants play the Raiders, and they're both 2-13. So it ain't going to be a tie. Someone's going to lose that football game, and then that team will be tied with the Jets. The Giants I've not watched much of this year. I just saw somebody tweet, don't rule out a Giants loss. They are as bad as the Raiders. That's hard to believe, but again, I haven't watched a whole lot of Giants this year. Both 2-13. Yeah. Excuse me, worst 2 records in the league. It's a shame Cleveland only lost by 3 to Buffalo. They hung in there. But Tennessee's big win over KC is what propels the Jets up from 5 to 4. Tennessee drops to 5, Arizona at 6, Washington 7, New Orleans with their win drops to 8 with their 5th win. Cincinnati 5 and 10 is 9th, and the Rams, as insane as it is, that could be a Super Bowl winning team, and they are sitting there at 10 with the Falcons pick. So there's your top 10 for the draft, but we're interested, of course, in the Jets picking 4th. This, to me, was the last game of the year they had a real shot to win. If they'd showed up, or if they'd shown up, but they didn't, they played terrible. They didn't win. They didn't deserve to win. So now they have to play they've got New England and Buffalo left. Those are both going to be losses. The Jets will finish with 3 wins on the year. I mean, even if Buffalo were to bench starters in the final game, I can't envision a scenario where the Jets are even a little bit competitive against those teams, especially the way they cannot. New York Jets right now cannot stop the pass. It's pretty ugly. So a couple more losses would have the Jets at 3-14 on the year. Well in the running for a top 3 pick at least. And you hope, I mean, it's unlikely. It sure would have been nice if it was the Giants and Titans 1 and 2. And the Jets losing their next couple and hopefully jumping up to 3. Then you have 2 teams in front of you who don't need a quarterback. But the key here, the big thing is still going to be how many quarterbacks enter this draft. We've talked about it for weeks. A lot of guys in the last few days who I thought, maybe this guy comes out and he becomes a round 2 option or late round 2, early round 3. Menza, Sorsby, Mayava, all these guys are going back to school. So the names are dropping like flies. We've talked about Dante Moore. Does he come out? I think that's going to depend on how he does in the CFP. Now, of course, big game against James Madison. So no one's really, that's okay. I mean, still threw 2 picks against James Madison. So does he enter the draft? If he doesn't, and it's just Mendoza, Ty Simpson possibility, I suppose. Made some big throws the other day, but I feel like his inexperience and his poor performance down the stretch could boot him back to college. His choice, of course. Could choose to go back to college. We'll see there. But it's 1 QB draft or a 1 QB class is still not out of the question. The good thing for the Jets, though, if you're sitting at 3, it's a whole lot easier, hypothetically, to trade up from 3 than it is from 7 or 8 or 9, which is where it was starting to look like they could end up. The biggest factor here will be which teams are also within shooting distance to grab themselves or to trade up and grab a quarterback. If it's somebody like the Raiders, I think they're a prime competition. If I'm the Raiders, and I know I said this a week or 2 ago, and it's probably I'm probably thinking it because I'm looking at the Raiders and thinking, what's the best player they have to offer? So if I'm the Raiders and I need a quarterback that bad, do I call, let's say, the Giants are sitting at 1? and I say, look, we'll give you. I know the Jets have 2 ones, and they can offer you a couple, and they might even offer you one next year, which would be crazy to move up 2 spots. But if the Raiders say we'll give you a couple ones and Brock Bowers, how do you think Jackson Dart would like having Brock Bowers to throw the football to? That's a player you can add in the deal that could really sweeten the pot. So if it's a 1 QB class, it's going to get competitive. It's going to get crazy. But I don't think the Jets are not going to be out of it by any stretch. My whole thing is I don't want to see the Jets grossly overpay, especially when I fully expect them having 3 picks next year in the first round to be in position to grab a quarterback without trading up. So if you can grab a couple of studs this year and then grab yourself a quarterback with your top pick next year and then have 2 more firsts after that, give me 5 first-round players over 2, and which is what could very well happen if they give up a bunch of picks to move up this year and then they kick the can down the road next year, or they give up some of the picks for next year and end up only having 1 first this year and 1 or 2 next year. But we'll see. There's a lot that can happen between now and forget about this year's draft, the following year's draft. Ideal scenario really this year is if you're not going to take a quarterback, try to find a team that wants to move up, trade down and see if you can steal a first rounder from them next year and go into next year's draft with 4 ones and still have a couple of ones this year as well. That would be an ideal situation. Chris Olave tore the Jets up. I had him as a pregame player to watch or matchup to watch because you just kind of knew, Brandon Stevens has been improved. We talked about that, but you knew there were going to be matchups against Stiggers. He had 2 touchdown catches. One of them, it looked like one of any 3 guys could have been covering him. Quincy Williams was in the picture at one point. Brandon Stevens was so far out of the picture that you hope he wasn't the primary. And I believe Stiggers, but I could be wrong, was the guy in the end zone. But Stiggers did have a PBU on what could have been a TD earlier in the game for Chris Olave. Juwan Johnson went 8 for 89. Taysom Hill, 4 for 36. Mason Tipton, 4 for 29. Audric Estime, who I said was the leading rusher, also had 3 catches for 17. On defense, the Jets' good friend, Demario Davis, did what he does. TFL, pass broken up, 8 tackles, only a couple solos. I thought Jonas Sanker, the kid who I really liked coming out last year, looked really good. He had a couple of broken up. There were a couple passes batted at the line as well. Danny Stutzman had himself a solid game. So listen, the Saints are in a good spot. They've got a good young quarterback, and a lot of their draft picks are playing well. Mid-late rounders are not just getting on the field for the sake of getting experience, but they're actually making impact plays. Rob Giordano says, if Mendoza's gone and most QBs elect to stay, what pending free agent is a legit grab? I'm going to steal an idea here, and I don't even know who I'm stealing it from. Our good friend Scott Mason has talked about this when somebody hit him up in a tweet a couple weeks ago. This is a guy I didn't even realize was a free agent. And I hate to not give credit. Like I said, it wasn't even a tweet to me. It was something I saw Scott comment on. But Malik Willis is a free agent. And this is a former early pick who hasn't really had the opportunity to play much. But when he's played all right. He played well last night for Green Bay against the Bears. So in terms of legit bridge guys who are sort of we're still exploring what their ceiling is or what their ceiling will be, Malik Willis is a very interesting name. The name that worries me is Kyler Murray. He is not due to be a free agent, but by all accounts, the Cardinals intend to move on from him. I know he has the running ability that Aaron Glenn likes, but I don't know that he's the guy you want to bring into this market. Anytime you're talking about a player, and look, maybe it's overblown, I don't know, but the facts are the facts, and we know that this guy had a contract that offered to pay him more money if he watched film. Like, if that's not something you're doing naturally without having to be paid extra, that's a red flag. Although Kyler Murray has had some days where he looks like a really good player. The consistency hasn't been there, but if the money is right, that's in terms of free agency next year, the Jets, between Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers, I believe the total number is the Jets are going to be paying $57 million to those 2 guys next year. neither of whom will be on the team. You're going to spend another 20 on a quarterback, another 15, and have 60, $70 million committed to the position that only one guy can play. That'd be kind of wild, but I do like the idea of Malik Willis. We'll see what happens there. More CFP games coming up. Obviously, guys, we're going to see stock rise and fall. Jeremy Bernard with that catch he made last night. When I first watched him 2 years ago at Alabama, I think it was 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure it was, or maybe very early last year. When I first saw him, I was like, this kid's going to be wide receiver 1 when he comes out. I thought he was that good. Then he was very good, but just didn't hit the way I thought he would. And then he makes that catch last night in the CFP, and it's like, you know what, dude? You make a few plays like that, and all of a sudden, you start working yourself into that first round conversation. And maybe he does that. And that's what's great about the CFP. It's the lights get brighter. Guys are playing in bigger spots, key plays in big games, and that's when you start seeing stock rise and players who maybe previously you didn't think much of, or who you thought weren't as good as you thought they might be, as is the case with Bernard. And maybe he is. Maybe he's that good. Let's see what he can do. So we got some interesting names to watch in the coming weeks. The quarterbacks, who's going to come out, who's not. Ty Simpson, if he lights it up, does he come out? Does Moore come out if he lights it up? But a lot of football to watch. I think if you're a football fan, I don't know how you would be a fan of the CFP. I can see how you're not a fan of the NIL, because that's totally ruined that. I mean, they got to fix that. That's a different conversation. But the NCAA has to do something to get it right, because it's making college football an absolute mess right now. But that is what it is. That'll be a different conversation for a different time, maybe on a draft show where we talk about some guys who came out, didn't come out, should have come out, shouldn't have come out. Guys jumping in the portal who probably shouldn't. Things like that. Plenty of that to cover. But we will have that and more throughout the week. I will let you guys go now so I can go enjoy some time in Belgium with the family. Have a good one, Jets fans. We will catch you in the coming days, break down some more of this film, and talk about what the next couple of weeks are going to bring. Have a good one, Jets fans.